Hello there, and welcome to Coffee with Wes for Tuesday, September the 16th, 2025. I want to thank you for stopping by. And that reminds me, I don't know, some of you who are old like I am may remember back in the day, the Beverly Hillbillies. Remember that TV show? And at the end of the show, they all come out, they'd be waving, and was it Lester Flats or somebody would be singing? And they would say something about, said, we thank you for stopping in, take your shoes off and sit a spell or something like that. Well, I don't know if you want to take your shoes off or not, but, have a seat. Come on. Got a table here and we got some chairs over here. So come on in, have a seat, sit a spell, and I'll bring you some coffee. I just got coffee made and I'll bring you some. I got my glass coffee cup here this morning, and well, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think it keeps the coffee as hot as long as it should in this glass mug. But what do I know, right? Anyway, the coffee's good. And my name is Wes. This is Coffee with Wes. And I'm glad that you're tuning in today. Let's go ahead and get started, will you? Join me as we get started. All right. So we're searching for the greatest truths of all time. We've been doing that for a couple of weeks. And this week, what we're searching for is the greatest sin of all time. And that probably sounds kind of odd to say the greatest sin. What's the best sin that you've ever committed, right? No, that's not kind of what we're talking about at all. But what we're talking about is the sin, right? The sin above all sins. The sin that keeps you out of heaven is what we're talking about this week. So today's big idea is that trusting Jesus means giving Jesus your whole heart, not a divided heart, but the whole heart. And I want to read from Matthew 12, verse 25, if I may. Every kingdom, this is Jesus speaking, every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. Now, we remember, I think, those words from Abraham Lincoln, and he may get the credit for that quote, but that quote comes from the scripture, comes from right here. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And we're not going down that road today, but, in our nation, we're so divided, and that's an issue. That's really an issue for our continued health and well-being, but we will not we'll not go down that rabbit hole today. But here we find in Matthew 12:25, here we find that the Pharisees, the religious leaders, the church folk, if you will, had accused Jesus of casting out demons by the power of Satan. And you remember, we talked about this yesterday, that Jesus was teaching, and they brought to him in Matthew 12, they brought to him an individual who couldn't speak and he couldn't hear, and he had a demon in him, they said, and so they brought this person to Jesus. Jesus cast out the demon. The guy was able to speak. He was able to hear, and all the people were amazed. And rather than giving God the glory, God the praise, these religious leaders accused Jesus because they had an agenda, because Jesus was becoming more powerful and more popular, and they were becoming less powerful and less popular. And so they were trying to, get at him. And so they accuse him of casting out this demon by the power of Satan. And Jesus points out how foolish that claim is. Basically what he's saying in this verse is that, Satan can't fight against himself. But the deeper issue here was the Pharisees' unwillingness to accept Jesus as God's true authority. They were asking the question, the people were, could this be the son of David? Could he be the Messiah? And these Pharisees were unwilling, no matter what the evidence was, they were unwilling to accept that. When we refuse to trust Jesus completely, our lives become divided. We may give the Lord Sunday morning. We may give the Lord, our weekday mornings while we're having coffee with Wes. but we keep our worries and we keep our habits and we keep our decisions to ourselves. And a divided heart cannot stand. It's not sustainable, as the word we use today. And Jesus is calling us to full, complete allegiance to him. So here's the challenge. We need to examine our hearts. We need to examine our lives. We need to look at who we are and discover where we are holding back trust from Jesus. What are we trying to keep for ourselves? And then to continue the challenge, we need to surrender. Here it is for today. Surrender one area of your life to the Lord fully today, completely. Lord, I'm giving you my allegiance, but there's this that I'm holding back on, this that I'm worried about, this that I'm keeping. But Lord, I'm going to just trust you with this completely and totally. Okay, before we go today, let's remember this. A divided house cannot stand. So give Jesus your undivided heart. All right, that's where we are today on this Tuesday, September the 16th, 2025. I hope that you have a great day. Hope your week is going well. We're just getting started, and I hope it started well yesterday. You're able to build on it today so that it gets better and better, and we're going to work toward that weekend, and who knows what's going to happen this weekend. Y'all take care. See you again real soon. Bye for now.